Welcome into the CHGO Bears Podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app. Use promo code CHGO when you sign up. What's going on, Bears fans? Adam Hoge, Carmen V, Nicholas Moreano, all with you today. The season's over, so Mark Carmen's gone. He just disappeared.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm good. Season's over. Got the press conference.
Do we know that if he actually got on his flight because of all the flights being grounded this morning?
Yeah, he sent a tweet.
Good question. What did he say?
He's like, it's not a good time to be at Midway or something like that because of all the...
Is it ever a good time to be at Midway?
I really like Midway. It's so much easier to get to from in the city, and it's just an easy airport. It's one terminal, basically.
Let's see. Mark Carmen's last tweet, sitting at Midway, this is not the ideal way to start tennis camp. That's
the thing. He went to tennis camp, which I told my wife that this morning, and she just laughed out loud.
Wait, is he serious about that? I thought he was joking.
No, he's really going to tennis camp.
That's commitment right there from Mark. Like, he wants to work on his game, and I applaud him.
He's off to a 1-3 start in the upper tier. He made it to
that's why he's going to camp.
Whatever, like the championship under the Premier League, I think, whatever that level is. He got promoted, and it's not going so well.
It is the championship level.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Are you proud of me for knowing that?
Well, yeah, sure.
I went to a championship match. Fulham versus Charlton.
Yeah, sorry, Fulham. Stay down there in championship level.
Did they get promoted?
I don't know. Are they back up?
I don't know. These are things you should know.
They're a yo-yo team. I don't really care about them.
Reminds me of Ted Lasso.
That's just insulting to Rich Campbell and all the other Fulham fans out there in the world.
Yeah. Sorry, Fulham.
Not me. I don't really care. So, we do care about the Bears here on this show, though. We care about the NFC North. Carmen V was in Green Bay on Sunday night, was in Aaron Rodgers' press conference, so we're going to talk about that a little bit. And she's headed to Minnesota this weekend for the Vikings-Giants game, playoff game, so we'll talk about that as well. But we're going to start with what is probably the first of many shows like this in the next few months where some athlete in the NFL tweets something and there's rumors about somebody who wants to be traded, and everyone, Bears fan, rightly so, goes, let's go get that guy. So today's example is DeAndre Hopkins. Came out yesterday. There was a report, I think, from Jordan Schultz that D-Hop wanted to be traded or would be traded, or the Cardinal, whatever it said, and then he tweeted a goodbye message, or put it on Instagram, a goodbye message today. Can we see the text on that?
It just says grateful.
It says forever grateful.
Just forever grateful.
So,
but yeah, that's forever grateful. ... This is the ellipses for effect.
Right. Gone.
Ooh, yeah.
Just gone. That's how you know.
What does that ellipses mean?
Yeah, I know. That means that he's gone for sure.
You go.
That there's more to this story.
Yeah, and I mean, the reason why Bears fans are obviously wanting to see if this is a possibility is because DeAndre Hopkins is still a good wide receiver.
If you look at Kyler Murray's stats when DeAndre Hopkins is on the field versus when he is not on the field, it is stark. And I was talking about this, I think, yesterday, but he has such a way of adjusting to the ball in the air. He can contort his body. He's got incredible body control, so that maybe if a ball isn't placed perfectly or isn't a dot or a dime every single time, like, he can still go up and get those balls. And maybe a quarterback who's young and developing and still needing to take strides in the passing game could benefit from a receiver like that.
So a couple things you need to know. He has a no-trade clause.
You can waive that, though, as the player.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but it just gives him control over where he wants to go.
Right.
So I think, that's an important part of this is, would he want to come to Chicago? This is where I think things are, to me, one thing I don't think we should ignore, and trust me, I've covered plenty of Bears off seasons where it's kind of like, okay, yeah, they have money to spend, but who wants to come here in this situation?
I mean, if you throw enough money at him,
there's always that.
He might.
Usually, 9 times out of 10, they go to the place that offered them the most money. It's usually that simple.
Yeah.
But there's also what about, like, I don't know, for a wide receiver like DeAndre Hopkins headed towards his, I think he'll be 31 next year.
Yeah, he's 31.
I think part of the reason he probably wants out in Arizona right now is the offense is a mess. Kyler Murray's hurt. Is he going to be 100% next year? When's he going to be back?
they're going through like a rebuild essentially.
I don't think
either.
DeAndre Hopkins wants to go to the Jets right now until they know who's the quarterback situation. What I'm getting at is having Justin Fields is different. Like, it's a different thing for the Bears. And I think when you pay attention to how many of his peers, whether it be after games or a few days after games, whether it's Darius Slay or a handful of other guys, I think Micah Parsons tweeted something today backing up Justin Fields.
Yeah.
And saying the Bears should build around Justin Fields, which I thought was an interesting random thing for Michael Parsons to tweet this morning. But we appreciate it. I just think this is a guy who has garnered a lot of respect and eyeballs around the league from his peers. So when it comes to a player like DeAndre Hopkins having a no-trade clause, who's to say? We don't know. But I don't think you can rule out him being open and coming and playing with Justin Fields.
Yeah.
And the thing, too, is, like, Justin said on locker room cleanout day, like, if he needs to be that recruiter, like, he's open to doing that. Like, he said he would go have a discussion with Ryan Poles a little bit after that press conference ended. So if he has to go, try to recruit guys to come to Chicago, he's open to doing that. And with how he played this season, having that nice – again, you got to pinpoint the stretch that he had from October to November. Like, I think that showed exactly the kind of guy that he can be. If you had a guy like that changes his evolution as a passer. Because what you were just saying, Carmi, like, you don't have to throw the ball completely on a dime.
Yeah.
Like, Hopkins can adjust and go get that thing. So
Right.
I think that is a big thing for, if the Bears want to really upgrade the passing game, you need to get a guy like that.
You need a bona fide number one receiver that can be kind of, I don't know, the leader of that room. And I mean, I know Darnell Mooney stepped up in a lot of ways, but I don't think that Darnell is really the bona fide X wide receiver one. Like, I just don't think that person is on the roster yet. And getting a veteran who is very, very good still, I think would be a good thing for that room in general. But what worries me too about this whole situation is the report that came out from Jordan Schultz yesterday also said that Michael Bidwell, the owner of the Arizona Cardinals, would communicate his desire to trade DeAndre Hopkins to whatever GM ends up getting there. When you have an owner with that in mind, I'm not so sure that owners always understand what the market is for these receivers. And I don't know that they're always realistic in what they're expecting in return for DeAndre Hopkins. So with all that being said, how much I think that he would be a good thing for the Bears, I wouldn't want him to overpay for that. And I don't know how much Arizona is going to let him go for or what they have in mind and if Michael Bidwell can be swayed. Like, when an owner's involved being like making personnel decisions, I just get a little leery of it.
Yeah. Well, I think whoever ends up being the GM there will be realistic about it and have to be realistic. The reality is you look at the veteran wide receivers that have been traded recently, you're not getting a whole lot in return. Wasn't Amari Cooper a 5th-round pick last year?
For the I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was let go for absolutely nothing because they wanted to offload his contract too.
Yeah. Well, this is the same thing.
This is the same situation.
I mean, well, here's the deal with some of the contract stuff that you need to know. I mean, they're going to take a $22.6 million bath in dead cap just by trading
Right.
Hopkins in 2023. If they wait until after June 1st to trade him, which I doubt would happen, but they could split that up over the next 2 years. But I think it's a situation where it looks like a total reboot in Arizona right now.
That's why I don't think that they care that much.
This is like a move that Ryan Poles would have done last March, right? It is the move he did with Khalil Mack, essentially.
Yeah.
You trade the guy, you get what you can, and then you eat the dead cap for a season, you come back. Now, if you're the team trading for him, though, he still owed over $19 million in a base salary that you got to pay him next year. So he's not cheap financially. I don't know off the top of my head how much of that is guaranteed. I'm not sure any of it's guaranteed, actually. But it's not like you're not paying him that if you trade for him.
Right. Potentially,
Though, what that means is if it's a 1-year, $19 million commitment, well, it's really 2 years. He's owed another almost $15 million in 2024. But if that's not guaranteed, it could be like a 1-year flyer. let me simplify it. The question is this. Like, let's say it's a third-round pick for $19 million, almost $19.5 million, knowing that if it doesn't go well, you can just cut them for nothing the year after that. Would you do it?
I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I'm definitely doing it. Real quickly, there's a thing in the NFL right now with quarterbacks getting a bona fide number one, and they get this number one wide receiver in their third year in the league. So if we go back to Dak Prescott, he got Amari Cooper going into year 3. Makes a Pro Bowl that year in 2018. Go to Josh Allen in 2020, his third year in the league. Gets Stephon Diggs. He makes a Pro Bowl and goes off. Then look at Jalen Hurts. Year 3, gets A.J. Brown. The offense is rolling. He's now in the Pro. He's going to be a Pro Bowler. Like, Justin Fields, I'm not saying like, you go get DeAndre Hopkins, he's automatically in the Pro Bowl, but there's a trend in the NFL. These young quarterbacks that get a guy like this, a bona fide number one, their game ascends, especially in the passing game. And that was something that Ryan Poles in yesterday's press conference mentioned a bunch of times. He saw the flash plays with him running, wants to see it in the passing game. This is a way to kind of do that. But if it's a third-round pick, and I know $19 million is not ideal, but I'm making that move.
I think so, too. And I mean, this is the second year that these guys will be in Luke Getsy's offense. And you have to think that Justin has a better command of it, obviously, going into like having a full offseason to work on it, too. And after having a full season, and now you can start kind of dictating and calling the shots as the quarterback, which is what you want, which I think aids in. I think that was pretty similar to a lot of those guys, too, that you just mentioned, of their comfortability within the system and then being able to not only execute it themselves, but teach it and bring guys in and have someone to rely on as well. I think that's the big thing, too, that you just need a very reliable target that can bail you out when you need it.
The Bears don't have that right now.
No,
they just don't have
they don't
that.
Have that.
And you're waiting to see what Chase Claypool, what he can do next season. That's no guarantee whatsoever.
Right.
But that is a guy that is shown consistently throughout this league. He can produce in 9. He's played. This is going to be his 10th year in the league. He's played in 15 or more games in 8 of his 10 years.
Yeah.
So this guy that is durable. I know the last 2 years haven't been his best because he hasn't been on the field as much. But
10 games in 2021, 9 this past year. Of course, had the 6-game suspension for PEDs too, which is another red flag.
Yeah.
For a guy that's getting up there. Boy, he was, and still was, honestly, just 2 years ago. His first year with Arizona, 115 catches, 1,400 yards.
He's a workhorse.
I mean, an absolute beast. And even though he only played 10 games in 2021, still put up 42 catches and 8 touchdowns. So
that's the thing, is the scoring production is there with him too, which is
on target,
right? Which is because he's how tall is he? He's a big dude.
6'2", 6'1", yeah.
Oh, never mind. He's listed at 6'1". I thought he was bigger than that.
Yeah, but he plays bigger than that.
He does play bigger. Yeah. That's the thing. Because again, he has all that body control and he has a means of getting up and going and getting the ball.
Which, quite honestly, is kind of Chase Claypool's downside. Is like he's a bigger wide receiver who plays smaller.
Right. Because I don't think he adjusts as well. And again, that might be chemistry and stuff like that. Because you look at what Chase Claypool was able to do with Ben Roethlisberger in the beginning of his career. That was very impressive, and I feel like it's just a matter of getting chemistry with quarterbacks.
Now, one of our commenters brought up a good point a little bit earlier, which was with that no trade clause, if he's seeking an extension and another contract, to give him more guarantees beyond just 1 year, then he kind of has that control to be choosy.
Right.
And I'm not sure that would fit what the Bears are trying to do right now. Give a 31-year-old wide receiver like a 3-year deal with money guaranteed for more than just one season. Because it's not like they have to bring down that base salary. I mean, $19 million is a lot, but with all the space the Bears have, I think they'd rather keep it front-loaded for a year and then give them more options going forward. So that is an interesting part. And then again, the market's the market. So if he wants that, nobody's willing to give it to him, then maybe that ends up being.
And I'm trying to think of an instance, because I feel like when you do teams that give longer term 2, 3 year, 4 year deals to players over 30, I feel like are the teams that they were already on.
Yeah.
Like I don't know I can't think.
Well, what
off the
about
top of my
Devontae
head.
Adams? Didn't he get a contract
Extension? Oh yeah,
after
he
getting
did.
traded?
Yeah,
And he's 30 now.
He's going to be
He just
31.
turned-
he's gonna be
Same-
okay. So he's
but in
like,
December this year. So they're the same age right now.
Well, he just turned 30.
Yeah.
Devontae Adams. So this was his age 29 season.
Yeah.
He'll be 30 next year. He is 30 now, but it'll be his.
it'll be his.
What,
yeah.
Whatever. And he did get a 5-year, $140 million contract.
Yeah. That was also, I think, to placate Derek Carr.
Sure. And also, like, Adams really hasn't shown any signs of slowing down.
Right.
So,
And hasn't had any
age
sort
is
of-
really just a number.
Yeah, he was voted to the Players All-Pro team today. So that was cool.
So was Roquan Smith.
So was Roquan
Roquan
Smith.
Smith.
And that's new this year, right? This
Yeah, it's first
NFLPA.
year.
So they
First year
vote
they
on
did
it themselves.
It was only active NFL players are allowed to vote, and you're only allowed to vote on your own position group and guys you line up against.
Oh,
Ooh, I like that.
a lot.
Yeah.
That's
So I thought that was really smart because, I mean, like, honestly, what is a running back going to know about, like,
a deep or an offense. I don't know. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Well, and also, Carmen, you know this too. Like, it's fun having like these votes. It's also like way harder than it sounds. Like when we get together every year and we get our Pro Football Writers ballot, and it's like they want like an all AFC team and then like an all AFC rookie team.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute. So I got to look up like which rookie guards play. You know, like
That's why I think it's great because it's defensive linemen and fellow O linemen that are voting on O linemen.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah. It's only active players. If you missed 5 or more games by week 15 in the season, you cannot vote.
Okay.
And you only get 1 vote. So, like for each position, which is like that you're allowed to vote on. I thought it was done very well.
I like it. Yeah,
Jalen Johnson would like that a lot because he's big into like what his peers think about him.
Right.
And like that's a thing that he, obviously he didn't make the Pro Bowl. And he was talking about, or Eberflus, I think, mentioned that. But that would be something that if he ever makes this list, it's like, okay, this is what my peers think about me. That's how you know he, quote unquote, made it and is recognized for his game.
A super chat here from Isaac, $20. Appreciate you, Isaac. Says, hey, guys, you have been amazing this season, not just podcasting about the Bears, but honest, true, and great reporting by everyone who's involved. Thank you for being the new face of Bears football.
That's so sweet.
Love it.
And then he actually had a question here.
Okay.
Followed up here with
Thank
another
you, Isaac. We really
super chat.
appreciate you saying that, first of all. $5. Here's the question. Will having the Big Ten president as our president help with scouting talent or help continue to identify talent? Thanks. I don't. It's it's interesting question. I understand why you're asking it, but no.
Yeah, that's a business side of things.
He's totally on the business side.
It's not
Same
evaluating
thing. When he was
players.
with the Vikings, it wasn't like he was involved in the scouting. Now,
Just get him to put a beautiful roof on top of the dome. That's all I care about.
but
Right.
I will say, if you go back through
Copy the blueprints.
Kevin
pull them out
Warren's-
of Minnesota.
Kevin
Let's go.
Warren's history, when he was with the Rams way back in the day, he was, what was he? It was like the director of football administration, I want to say.
Yeah, so then that you are probably dealing with contracts there
But
and
that was-
onboarding
yeah.
guys, but you're not necessarily you're still not necessarily evaluating these guys and watching film and doing all that kind of stuff.
But he was involved in contract negotiations
Yeah.
too. So there's a little bit of a crossover, I think, where there's
yeah, it depends.
he's not quite the quote unquote like footballs are. So many fans have been
right.
looking for, but I do think there's
A familiarity.
more football knowledge in there than probably, just to be fair, Ted Phillips has, coming from like the straight accounting,
right. I mean, that's
background.
and really most team presidents are like that because the buildings in these organizations are very siloed. Like you've got the business side of the building, which is what the team president is essentially in charge of, which is marketing, ticket sales, digital, all that kind of stuff. And then you've got the football side of everything. And that's GM, personnel, coaching staff, players, sports performance, all that kind of stuff. So it's very separate. And they operate very separately, sometimes to the detriment of teams. I feel like you can tell which teams operate well and which ones don't based on the cooperation between the two sides of the building. But yeah, I mean, they're very much more concerned with growing the brand of the Bears, like in this case, growing the brand of the Bears, increasing revenue, and improving the overall experience for fans, for people watching at home, for fans being there. And I mean, overall though, making the organization money. That's what these guys are here for. So that's kind of their jurisdiction. I guess is probably a good way to say it. Their jurisdiction is the business side of things. And it doesn't quite overlap, especially with the evaluation of the football side, because that is usually under the GM and his staff and his administration, which is completely different.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I think, by the way, from what I've been told, I still think Kevin Warren is in the driver's seat to get that job, and it seems like
driving the house off.
That could get finalized sooner rather than later. And,
He's completing his tour of the NFC North.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hasn't been with the Packers, right?
Hasn't been with the Packers yet.
Vikings and Lions.
Don't say yet.
Well, yeah, that's right. He can be in this for a long time.
But yes, he was with the Vikings and Lions, and so there is definitely assumption in the when I say world, like the football world and the Big Ten world, that this is all coming together. So I'm not sure what the exact timeline is, but sure seems to be moving that way. All right, Chris here with a 1999 super chat. How would
Chris.
you feel about giving DeAndre Hopkins a 3-year deal with 2 years guaranteed, but have an incentive built in to where if he gets over 1,000 yards in 2 seasons, the 3rd year is also guaranteed? Sounds reasonable.
Yeah, I actually really like that.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that I would be totally okay with giving him a couple more years. Because I don't like the one and done, especially when like you're trending upwards as a franchise and you're trying to build something. I mean, Ryan Poles talked a ton yesterday about the building blocks and setting a good foundation and building upon those with the little Legos and everything.
You need to get some of those.
And I just feel like you don't want to have this revolving door of personnel coming in and out, because I feel like those contracts, those one and done contracts, are meant for teams that are very much like 1 or 2 players away and
Super
ready to
Bowl,
win.
Trying to get that.
Right. Like that's what I was a part of in Tampa when the 2020 season rolled around. You got Brady, you got a couple of crazy,
Bring him in there.
But those were all 1-year deals. And now we're seeing, kind of the fallout from some of that, even though they're still in the playoffs. But anyway.
Yeah, and if you're going to allocate money too and like extend a guy like that, if you were to sign, like get traded here, like that's a position that means something to Justin Fields' offense. So I see the importance there, and if you want to put a little bit more money into it, I think I'm all right with it. That was one of the wish lists going into this new year when it was the Detroit Lions game. We all talked about our wish list on the show, and it's like, get Justin Fields to number 1.
Yeah,
DeAndre Hopkins is
among other things. Like I don't want to say like, and we're obviously talking about DeAndre Hopkins because it's timely right now, but like that's one of the things. Which is also why I feel like you should give each of these guys these pieces that you bring in. If you want them to be cornerstone pieces, bring them in for a couple of years at least, so you can grow together a little bit more. Which sounds weird for a veteran receiver, but I think that he's still got a few more good years left in him.
But in a year where there's not a lot of great options, this might have to be a situation where I don't want to say you settle on DeAndre Hopkins because that's pretty damn.
That's a pretty
good settling.
Yeah, exactly.
But yes,
Carmen brought up Tampa Bay.
I know.
And Brodelicious here says, what about Chris Godwin? He had 4,300 yards in the last 4 seasons, only missed 4 games, and that was 3 years ago. And on a team with Mike Evans and Gronk, 1 season, that's some pretty good production.
Chris is an incredible athlete. He's an incredible receiver. He's an incredible route runner. He is extremely athletic. No one takes care of his. I mean, he is Tom Brady levels of taking care of his body too. He can do it all. And if Tampa wants to part with him, please bring him to the Bears, because I think that would be. He is a number 1, and he hasn't really been a number 1 because of the fact that Mike Evans has been there.
Right.
And Mike Evans is absolutely number 1 as well. So you've had these 2 number 1 receivers on Tampa, and they've been very spoiled when it comes to that. I can't say enough about Chris Godwin, the job he does, and he's just so good at everything. And he's one of those like cleanup guys. He's not your straight outside guy. He can move into the slot, run so many different routes out of so many different alignments. And he can get separation. He's quick. He's agile. I can't say enough about Chris. I would love either Chris or Mike Evans. And I know the Bucs are in cap hell, but somehow they've been in cap hell for the last couple of years and been able to figure it out with all of these free agents. And I mean, Chris is very entrenched in Tampa. Mike is very entrenched in Tampa. They have their foundations and stuff that exist there, but this is the business. And I mean, I think money talks too. And obviously the opportunity to be the true number one on a team for a competitor like these guys are.
Compelling for sure.
Yeah.
For any competitor.
He very quietly put up career high in receptions this year. The yards weren't quite. They still went over 1,000 yards.
That's because Brady's got a noodle arm. He's like 45. He can't throw the ball 10 yards now.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is they weren't pushing, and just in general, this offense, the Bucs offense this year was much more conservative, and what just didn't really get into the rhythm that we've seen, and there were no risk. Like the fact that Bruce Arians is no longer the head coach was very much evident in the offense. I feel like because it wasn't the no risk it, no biscuit, like push the ball down the field as much as possible mentality. It was. We can,
no, it was be terrible for 56 minutes and then let Tom Brady.
And then let Tom Brady run a 2-minute offense, and then you score
win.
like multiple times, like
correct.
2-minute offense on multiple drives, and then and that's fine.
No problem.
But I mean, they didn't run the ball either, so like there was passing yards to go around because Brady was literally, I think his low in attempts was like 41, 42 or something on the year. It was insane. He was averaging like 45. It's a lot for a 45-year-old. It's a lot.
Yeah.
But that means that there were a lot of passes to go around.
Makes my arm tired just thinking about it.
Yeah. And for as hard as I don't know if people realize how hard Brady throws the ball. I've gotten hit with a Brady ball before.
Oh, have you?
Yes, I have.
Like, did you know it was coming?
No.
No,
I didn't know it was coming.
Where'd it hit you?
Well, it was like in my leg, I believe. I've gotten hit by a ball in the leg, and then I also tried to catch a ball. Not try, but like kind of just like redirect it with my hand. And I remember when he first got there in 2020, some of the guys were even talking about it, and especially one of the guys, he's the VP of player engagement there. He is Brady's, like, he catches the ball for Brady, like in warm-ups, in practice and stuff like that. And he just said, like, his hand is sore all the time. He was a former offensive lineman, and he's talking about how sore it is because Brady throws the ball really, really hard.
Yeah.
At 45 years old,
I want to get hit by a ball from Tom Brady. I don't know why, but I do.
Oh, I've gotten cleated.
That's so weird, but okay.
I've gotten cleated. I've gotten hit by balls. I've gotten. You really have to have your head on a swivel.
Head on a swivel. What's coming?
I've gotten almost like sandwiched between guys.
All right. Hold on to the Duke for a second. I got to get to this
Go for
break
it.
first. The ComEd Energy Efficiency Program is committed to helping families and businesses in the communities we serve manage energy usage and lower energy bills now and into the future. ComEd offers a wide array of incentives on lighting and other efficiency upgrades to commercial, industrial, and public sector customers of all sizes across our territory. Customers can inquire about how to upgrade outdated lighting to energy and money-saving efficient LED lights. Learn more about network lighting to operate your lights through your mobile device and track your facility's energy usage and more. Incentives have recently increased for indoor, outdoor lighting and networked lighting controls, making these projects even more cost-effective than before. Visit ComEd.com/poweringbiz. That's B-I-Z now to start saving money and energy. To start a project, contact us at 1-855-433-2700. For more information, you can also email business at ComEd.com or public sector at ComEd.com.
I had to do that one time. It did not go well. You were in Detroit, Adam, and
Oh yeah, you went for the EE.
Oh,
I
Carmen
tried.
made me
my mic
try and do
we
it
only
too, and I
had
didn't do it.
four people on set, so I couldn't.
I was like, I'm. That's not something I'm about to do.
It's, it takes some skill.
Just think of a seagull flying around, picking up trash.
but you're
on
good
the
at
beach.
the.
You're
You're
yeah.
good at that, Lawrence. That's your thing.
You're good at
That's your
that.
thing. But
that.
I can't hope to match your fervor and energy, so I'm not even gonna try.
Okay, that's fine.
real quickly before we continue this Bears discussion, I have to tell everybody about Green Ridge Farm. It's a Chicago local meat and cheese company that offers a better all-natural option. Green Ridge Farm are the makers of all-natural deli meat, sausages, and their famous meat sticks. Perfect for tailgating, happy hour, and school lunches. They also have 16 grams of protein per stick. Perfect for a post-workout snack. And the meat sticks come in chicken, Black Forest beef, and flavors like jalapeno cheddar. Definitely going to try the jalapeno cheddar, one of my all-time favorites. And right now, when you order any 3 meat products at greenridgefarm.com and include a pack of meat sticks in your cart. Those meat sticks will be free simply by using code CHGO at checkout.
All right. Man, I could go for some of that right now. Starving.
I'm hungry too.
All right. Let's get Duke, and then we're going to talk about everybody's favorite quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, a little bit. Duke coming through on a Wednesday, $19.99 super chat. Hey, we upgraded Carms today. I don't think Pauls is making a move at wide receiver. I think his presser was very clear that he's not giving up on Claypool yet. Their A score is very high on him from their draft school video. Yeah, I tweeted that video out. I encourage people to check it out. First of all, the Bears did this really cool thing. Ryan Poles, especially behind it, with the Build Chicago, right?
Yes. I think
that's the group with some inner city kids from the west side coming into what they call scout school. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I was extremely jealous.
I wanted to
They had to, be in a scout meeting, and then they went in the draft room where they have two giant big screens where they could put the stats up on one, and then actually they literally watch film of Justin Fields on the other, and they were showing them how it was really cool. I was actually a little surprised the Bears showed as much as they did in that video. One of the things they showed was this A score, which is their athletic score, and they showed exactly the factors: height, weight, 40 times, all this stuff that creates this athleticism score they call the A score. And it showed that the three highest A scores in order were Justin Fields, Chase Claypool, and Velus Jones Jr. Wow, Lawrence did not like.
I don't know.
No.
It's shocking. That's shocking.
It's not that shocking if you think about it. I mean, like,
athletically, yeah, if you're looking at the guys.
They're fast, big, can jump high.
Okay, fine.
You can do all these.
The measurable things.
If anything, it
Show it on the field, Claypool.
Right. If anything.
Well, you can't. Yeah, it's harder to quantify. I feel like.
Well, right.
I know.
If anything, it shows that that should just be a piece of the puzzle, and
Right.
not the whole
one-
thing,
yep.
because
Right.
you still need to be able to be a football player.
Right.
play football.
And look at our guy Jack Sanborn, right? I don't know what his athletic score is or his A score, but it's probably not high on that
high,
list,
yeah.
and yet you saw all the production he gave you. But so that's kind of my response to what you're saying, Duke, is like, yeah, cool, A score.
One piece.
No,
show
but
us, show us the P score, the production score.
But like to be fair too, I mean, there's nothing to give up on yet. Like Chase Claypool hasn't been a part of this team long enough to get a firm evaluation on him, and so I think, especially, I loved hearing him say, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna go and get with Justin Fields this offseason. We're gonna train together. We're gonna do all that kind of stuff." Like, he wants to work. He wants to be good. He clearly has that competitive fire because he's yelling at his teammates on the sideline too. When they're losing these games, and you don't have enough of a sample size on him in this offense, with him understanding this offense. Like, he hasn't even been here long enough to get all of the terminology down, I don't think. So with a full off season, and I feel like after next season is when you can evaluate if that was a good trade or not. But
Yeah.
no, I don't. I mean,
But I think the point here is, do you let that hope that you're talking about prevent you from going out and getting a DeAndre Hopkins?
no,
like
because
wide
I mean,
receiver?
either way, I don't. Even if Chase Claypool pans out to be what I think they think he's going to be, I still don't think they brought him in to be another number one receiver.
Right.
Yeah, he's not going to get to DeAndre Hopkins level.
No.
Like, that's just not going to – I don't think it's going to happen there. But, Poles also mentioned, like, not saying that they're excuses, but, like, Justin Fields wasn't, on the field for a couple of the games that Claypool was, and he was injured. So there's still time to see what he can do. Obviously, after this season, it doesn't look as hopeful. But, again, there's still a lot of time for him to learn.
Yeah. All right, I want to talk a little bit about the Packers and Aaron Rodgers and his future. That always affects the Bears and the general landscape of the division. Carmen was at the game on Sunday night.
Sure was.
Between the Lions and Packers, which was a fun game to watch.
It was.
The Lions have been a great story, and I don't want them to get overlooked, so maybe we'll spend a couple minutes on that too. But you were in that press conference with Aaron Rodgers, and I watched the whole thing live as it was happening. And first of all, I thought it was handled really well by the reporters in the room, asking the right questions. And honestly, I thought it was handled well by Aaron Rodgers, being open to talk about his future as much as he could.
Yeah.
And he was genuinely thoughtful, I thought, and respectful to some very hard questions. You were there. What were your takeaways?
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting too because this was just a few minutes after they had lost their chance to go to the postseason for the first time in LaFleur's, time there. And he wasn't as defensive about any of that. He seemed to have already processed that, which sounds weird because, again, it was only a few minutes after the game ended. And yeah, I mean, he said it and he acknowledged it. Like, there's still emotion for him. So he wants to take that out of it before making any decision on his future. And I get that. And he acknowledged that he wasn't going to hold the organization hostage with his decision, which is, I mean, it was very drawn out last year, right? Yep. So I think that I'm hoping that he realized, although he mentioned, he's like, it's only January. And then like the next thing, he's like, free agency is in March. So I'm like, all right, so is March your deadline at this point, basically? And yeah, no one knows what he's going to do, but it did have an air of like, he shouted the reporters out in the room that he knew well. I mean, so many of those guys on that beat have been there for so long, and they've been there for Aaron's entire career. Yeah. So Aaron has known nothing but a lot of these people in there. I'm a newbie, very much a newbie in those press conferences, and he made multiple mentions and kind of reflected on his time with them, which also kind of, if you're reading between the lines a little bit, like he really does think that there is a strong possibility this is the last time. In the green and gold, I should say.
Yeah, I thought he acted that way in case it was, but I still. Right. Let me put it this way: I feel like there's a decent chance that was his last game with the Packers. I'm not sold that it's his last NFL game.
No, I'm kind of in that camp as well.
But then as soon as you start talking about the money, it's like, well, one of the reasons I think that is because you just don't walk away from $60 million guaranteed.
I know. He said, to your point about the reporters asking the right questions, they basically were like, okay, but you're walking away from $58 million. Yeah. Can you do that? And he was like, I mean, I've been fortunate enough to make enough money that money doesn't have to be a driving force anymore. And even if it's not a driving force, though, it's a lot of money. And like, I'm trying to pick up on breadcrumbs too, because so like earlier in the season, when Christian Watson was on his run and, gets to 8 touchdowns and becomes one, it was 5 touchdowns in like 3 games or something like that. Mm-hmm. He said something that was like, Christian Watson is a player worth coming back for.
Yeah, I remember that.
And because he went into this whole thing about how he could have played with Deshaun Watson and Marshawn Lynch at Cal if he had stayed at Cal for one more year. And he's like, not that I regret it, but that would have been really cool. And then he likened that to Christian Watson. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. And then that you have a better wide receiver room, and it kind of panned out the way that you hoped it would by the end of the season. With a little bit more help, I mean, they're still a really young team. And that's the other thing, though, he said. It's so many conflicting messages because he says Christian Watson is a guy worth coming back for, but then he reiterated multiple times in that press conference how young they are.
Well, and he also got into like, I got to check with Mason Crosby to see if he's coming back, and Randall Cobb, and the guys that the few guys on that team that he's played with for a long time. And that does seem important to him.
Oh, it absolutely is. I mean, you look at the season, Randall Cobb was his safety blanket. Mercedes Lewis was still his safety blanket. Lewis, yep. And like, these are guys that he is just inherently comfortable with. And I almost feel like the thoughts going through his head, like, is this team passing me by? Is this game, the way they play it, is it passing me by with all the young players that they have and how young the team is and how much they're going to have to allocate resources? And is he going to be able to have the sway to keep his guys? And if those guys that he wants to keep, do they even want to keep playing? Yeah. Mercedes Lewis is like, what, 37?
He's
like,
old.
He's old. I don't want to keep putting my body through that.
Seriously.
If I'm that old. I don't want to put my body through that now.
When I saw Rodgers kind of put his arm around Cobb, like on the TV broadcast when they're going to a tunnel, I'm like, that's it. They're going off. They're no more.
Well, and I think that there's also something to be said about these guys just not knowing. I mean, that's what... Mm-hmm. In conversation I'd had with Rob Gronkowski, like, he really didn't know what he was going to do. It was like, all right, I got to see how my body feels. I got to see, like, again, what the team is like. And then Rodgers also brought this up. He's like, does the team even want me back? He's like, I think that assuming that that's a foregone conclusion is a little egotistical of me, which was, again, I was like, who is this guy?
Right. Rodgers
Like,
egotistical? Yeah, no.
You're talking about not wanting to be egotistical. But like, he's right in the fact that there was a downturn in his production. I don't think we're talking enough about, and it's partially due to him not talking about it, his injuries. Like, he threw more interceptions this year than he ever has. But, oh, by the way, he had a broken thumb on his throwing hand. To think that didn't have any effect on his downturn in production this year, I think is silly. And we don't talk enough about it. So if he's fully healthy, can he still perform at the level he wants to? But I think, again, that's not something that he knows right now. And these guys, again, are humans. And they are weighing a very big decision. You don't necessarily have the plan for your life that you like, and you know exactly how things are going to pan out. So sometimes you really just don't know. And I really think that he just doesn't know right now.
Yeah, for sure. Shout out to Jameson Williams too for shooting his shot with the.
We love that.
The jersey.
We love that. Rodgers did say that he thinks that when they were in Detroit, Jameson had asked him. I mean, Jameson wasn't playing at that point, but was like, "Can I get a jersey later?"
Oh, okay.
And so Rodgers was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna send him one." But not that one.
Not that one.
Great post-game press conference.
It was interesting. Bears fans I don't know if Bears fans caught on to this. He said that there are certain jerseys that are more special than others. He's like every jersey I wore playing the Bears. Like, he takes this rivalry. I mean, he's been, obviously,
Stop it.
But I just thought it was interesting. He's like, there were primetime games, and then every game I play the Bears. And this is talking to a group of, like, after a game against the Lions. Like, he had no incentive to say that. Mm-hmm. He really does like that, rivalry, the tradition of that rivalry, I should say. So I thought that was fun for Bears fans.
I just think at the end of the day, he doesn't turn down $60 million.
No, I don't know how you do.
And I think the question actually then becomes, is a team willing to take that on?
Right.
And who the hell is that team? Because that's not going to be easy either.
No.
And it's got to be figured out here relatively soon, which
there's precedent for it, though, when you look at the Matt Ryan deal and how much dead cap was in Atlanta. Yeah. And they still traded him, and the Colts took on his contract.
Right.
True. That seems smart.
And it didn't pan out. But you also have, I don't know. I mean, that's the other thing, too. Like, you have to figure starting over with another team is a lot.
No doubt. And that he has to figure that out if he wants to do that. Because
exactly.
obviously Brady was able to do it and go win a Super Bowl.
When I tell you, though, that Tom Brady was playing real live Madden for 2/3 of that season because he didn't, like, he was in the meeting rooms taking notes. I think Rob Gronkowski actually just talked about it in a video I saw. He was like, Tom would lead the meetings in New England. He would be the one that was installing everything for the offense. Come to Tampa, and he's taking notes. And, like, to put in that much effort when you're so comfortable with one system you have to weigh if you want to do that, because that takes on a lot. And Tom took on even more than, I know no one wants to hear that about Tom Brady, but like that he worked even harder than we all think he does, but he did. And I think that's something that's not for everyone. And I think Tom Brady is kind of sociopathic in the way he goes about it.
Well, definitely. The other part too, though, is like, why would the Packers don't seem in a hurry to get rid of Rodgers?
No,
I mean, they had their opportunity to trade him a couple years ago. They passed on that. They gave him this extra money,
right?
Which seemed crazy when they did it. They didn't quite get to the point where they had to play Jordan Love this year,
right?
Because the game still kept mattering, which also seems to be, speaking of sociopaths, like something that keeps Aaron Rodgers going. Like, it felt like just the thought that he wasn't going to play and they were going to go to Jordan Love, he was like, no, we're going to win these games.
Yeah,
and then,
absolutely.
Yeah.
They find outside motivators
Yeah.
All the time. That's what these guys are good at.
Well, but I don't think anyone would blame the Packers. They weren't mathematically eliminated, but they
had a 3% chance of making the playoffs. Like,
no one would have blamed them if they had been like, all right, we got to take a look at this young guy we drafted a couple years ago, because we're running out of time to evaluate him.
I advocated that too. Exactly. Like, you traded up for this guy in the first round. Like, you need to figure out if he's the future of your franchise or not.
But don't we kind of already know that now? Look at every NFL
Goody
team.
said they do. So he said he's seen enough of him in practice and everything to know to have a full evaluation of him, is what he said.
Well, and I guess my point is then that evaluation is he's not the future.
Because he hasn't played.
Because exactly, you know how these NFL teams. The second you draft first round quarterback, there's a huge rush to get him into the game. Now this is a little different because you have Aaron Rodgers on the roster, but the point is we're 3 years into this now, right? And he hasn't played, and they've had their chances to move on from him. And I think if Jordan,
I mean, wasn't this like it's so funny that how the similarities between how they ended up letting go of Favre and how this is all playing out. Like, it's very indicative of the fact that this is who this franchise is.
Right. Well, I guess. Well, that's true, and I guess we'll learn that this offseason because it got to the point where it's like, all right, well, we have to play Aaron Rodgers. Like, we don't have a choice. We're sick of these games. But did they give Brett Favre a giant contract extension right before?
No.
Yeah, like that. To me, the money talks here.
Yeah.
And you gave the dude all this guaranteed money, record-setting money. I don't think you do that if you know you have the next Aaron Rodgers.
Right. And I said that at the time when they did that.
It doesn't make sense to me.
No.
So that's another thing where I'm like, okay, well, they got these young wide receivers. Christian Watson does look scary.
Romeo Doubs is, yeah. You got a really good tandem there.
Who's the best option to get those guys the ball next year? And it feels like to me it's Aaron Rodgers.
And that defense really underperformed for the Packers
really
too. And it's a young team. Like,
I think
he
that's
is your best solution too.
That's another thing with like the incentive to give Rodgers more money is because you also thought that you were gonna have a defense to fall back on.
Yeah.
And that did not pan out this year for one reason or the other. There's no excuse for it either because with that many first round picks and your front seven alone,
They haven't announced any coaching changes, right?
No, and Matt LaFleur said that he doesn't expect there to be any.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought there was a good chance Jimmy Leonard was going to go there.
I mean, that could just be something that LaFleur is saying as of this moment.
Yeah.
But
new defense coordinator.
Yeah, I don't know how you don't get the most out of that. And then just the lack of discipline from one in particular that is just, I mean, LaFleur was livid after the game with Quay Walker and Rasul Douglas for that matter.
Who was the defensive lineman too? Right after Quay Walker bumped to a trainer, the defensive lineman was also
bodied him.
Yeah. I think it was Jaron Reed. I could be wrong about that though. I don't
think you're right.
Exactly, I don't remember exactly who it was, but no, that was. I'm like, not this week,
and
especially.
It's the second time he
did
did
it. In fact, the second time
it
happened this year.
I know.
It's crazy.
LaFleur was livid when it happened the first time against the Bills when Quay Walker shoved the coach that was trying to help him up. And I get that it's an emotional game and all that other stuff. And the video of
emotion
him,
though. You
have to be able to control.
Emotion.
That's part of being a professional is you have to channel that emotion into something else. And then when he's walking up the tunnel, I mean, I read his lips to say I didn't do anything. And I'm like, and whether or not that's right, that's what I took it to be. I'm like, that's such a bad look. If you are not taking any accountability and the pouting and whatever, it's one thing if that was a really tough call as far as one accidental targeting or something like that. Then you can pout and be upset and whatever but this was all you're doing. You shoved a trainer trying to get to an injured player,
especially with everything that has happened, with
that week.
Yeah, you just.
Not to take it there, but if that is a DeMar Hamlin situation, all those seconds matter that the trainer can get there. Exactly. It's just and just as a general rule, non-helmeted people should not be touched by helmeted players.
No, right,
I don't know. I couldn't believe it. We were all in the press box just completely incredulous. Did that just happen?
It did.
Oh, it happened.
Yeah.
Again. Yeah. By the way, I put a poll question in the chat. I just simply asked, will Aaron Rodgers play in Green Bay next season? And it's very split so far. So go ahead and vote, everyone. It's currently 53% say yes, 53 to 47. So it's right down the middle.
That's kind of where I am, too. I'm on this side and I'm 50-50, but I lean a little bit towards he's still in Green Bay at this point. But it changes hourly, so
it was interesting. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just also don't know that Aaron Rodgers had the command that he usually does. Again, the Lions coming in, being eliminated from playoff contention. I was told that the mood in the locker room pregame was basically F shit up. I don't know if I can say that on here, but F shit. That was what was told to the guys. Let's go out there and F shit up. And that's what they did. And that's the culture. The Lions culture is what Dan Campbell has built there. really needs to be talked about more because they are such a fun team, and they to knock an opponent out of the playoffs or a division rival out of the playoffs just because, just out of spite.
Yeah. We talked about this the other day. I really think that was the worst possible opponent the Packers could have had this week.
Oh my God.
For all the teams in the league to be eliminated 40 minutes before kickoff, for that just to become a dangerous situation, it was the Lions. It was just the grit, everything you saw in Hard Knocks this year, and it was I really think for a young team, they probably would have played tighter, knowing that it was basically a playoff game.
Absolutely.
If they had something to play for, I think now it's a playoff game. I think now all of a sudden you're young. Now you play tight. The fact that it was F shit up, like you said, it's just screw it. We had nothing to lose. Let's just go ruin the Packers season. Let's play loose.
Honestly, they played a lot more conservative than I expected them to through the first 3 quarters. And then after that, they were all right,
kill shots.
We're gonna go. We're just we're gonna do whatever we want now. Because I was jokingly on Twitter getting mad that Dan Campbell was punting at all. I was like, don't punt. Why would you punt? Just go for it. You already go for it in the season anyway. You're known for that.
Well, congrats to the Lions on the season they had, but
it's very exciting for them.
Now the expectations come, and that'll be really interesting next year to see.
Shout out to Don Burr.
Yeah, we love you, Don Burr. Still don't really understand why you're in here every day for a Bears show, but we love you anyway. And congrats to your Lions.
I really do. I love covering the Lions. They're so much fun. That stadium is very underrated too. The facility is very nice.
Yeah,
it's all very just solid. It's all very Detroit, and I just appreciate that.
Well, Bears fans, their fans deserve a winner, and
they do.
Maybe those will be the 2 best teams in the league, or in the division.
In the
division, not the league. All right, one more NFC North team I want to talk about, but first, because it has to do with this weekend, and the NFL playoff picture is locked in, and our go-to place for the wild card round, DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, to kick off the road to Super Bowl 57. New customers can bet just $5 and get $200 in free bets instantly. Plus, all new and existing customers can get a no-sweat bet every day of the wild card round this weekend. Just place any NFL bet of your choice. If it loses, you'll get a free bet back up to $10, and that's each day, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Action's so good. Why bet the NFL playoffs anywhere else? Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use code CHGO. New customers can bet $5 on the NFL and get $200 in free bets instantly. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code CHGO. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details.
After you download the DraftKings app, you might as well download the Game Time app. It's the hottest new ticketing site that makes it easier than ever to score the best deals on tickets to sports, concerts, and shows. Ever dreamed of sitting in a seat you never thought you could? 50-yard line, courtside, behind home plate, floor seats at a concert. It's possible with the Game Time app. The biggest last-minute price drops can be found on your seats that you thought you could never buy. You won't find a better deal this season on Bulls tickets, Blackhawks tickets. And Game Time is created by the fans, for the fans, and guarantees the lowest price. If you love CHGO, then you'll love Game Time. The best way to support us is by buying your tickets through the link in the description. Join over 15 million people who have downloaded the Game Time app and score the best seats to all your favorite events.
All right, the NFC North team that did make the playoffs, the Minnesota Vikings, Carmen will be there on Sunday afternoon.
Sure will.
For that game in that gorgeous stadium that they have there.
Talk about a good stadium.
Yeah.
That's my favorite. It's my favorite in the league.
Mine too. I absolutely love it. And jealous that you're going to be there this weekend. It's a rematch of a Christmas Eve game between the Giants and Vikings that was also played there, same stadium.
Yep.
That was Vikings were a 4-point favorite that day. It ended up coming down to a 61-yard field goal walk-off when the game was tied, right? Or was the game tied when he hit that field goal? I think it was.
Yeah,
so
it was.
Otherwise, it was going to go
into overtime. It was going to go into overtime. But
so Vikings won by 3. Now the spread going into this game is just 3. So they, down a point. To me, it's like the same thing, though. I think the Vikings are a popular, or I should say the Giants are a popular upset pick.
Yeah.
This week. But I don't know. To me, it's like the same thing I thought when they played on Christmas Eve. Is like this is what the Vikings do, man. They're going to play a close game. They're going to find a way to eke it out, especially at home.
Yeah.
And I for as good as the Giants have been this year and overachieved to some extent, especially Daniel Jones, Brian Dable's done a phenomenal job coaching there in his first season. I don't know that they have enough talent overall to. It's not a question. It's an objective fact that the Vikings have more talent than the Giants, and the Giants have consistently outperformed. They've outkicked their coverage, to use like a dating/football term, but they have, and it's due to Brian Dable and especially their offensive coordinator Mike Kafka, who is garnering head coaching opportunities now in his first time in the cycle. He's a Northwestern Wildcat, by the way, and St. Rita. Shout out, Catholic
there it
Week.
is. So you look at that offense and how much it was tailored in to help Daniel Jones, and they coached the heck out of that team. And I think that in the playoffs, that conceivably is where the buck stops, because then you run into much more talented teams. But that being said, Minnesota, it's hard to trust Minnesota because they have played a lot of close games, but they played close games that shouldn't have been close.
Yeah.
I mean, Indianapolis 36-33 that they won, 39-36 in overtime.
Overtime to the Indianapolis Colts because they were down 33 points at halftime.
Yeah, that's my favorite DraftKings play of the year was Vikings plus 27.5 at halftime. Yeah, I think they're going to cover that.
They literally had to complete the largest comeback in NFL history to beat a Jeff Saturday-led Indianapolis Colts team. That being said, now if you're that locker room and you're those players, though, like if you get down at halftime, you're not scared. Yeah. You're like, we've done this before, and that's dangerous too. And you can't,
say though, even Sunday at Soldier Field, something about the Vikings, I was like, you guys should be winning this game by like 30 points. The Bears are actively trying to lose this game. What is going on? They're rotating between Nathan Peterman and Tim Boyle at quarterback. And it was it took them forever to finally actually.
I mean, the Vikings are also very hurt. Their offensive line, that's going to be the biggest thing is if Garrett Bradbury is it's not looking very good that he can come back. And they have been absolutely getting torched on the interior because of Garrett Bradbury not being in there. They're on their third center right now. That's a lot. They also brought in Greg Mance, and it'll be between him and their third string guy, who has taken a few steps forward the last couple of games, but still, Kirk Cousins has been sacked like 12 times in the last 4 games.
Telling.
Or 17 times. I forgot what my stat was, but I talked about it
Well, and that
earlier.
could be the one. That could be the one big difference between this game and what happened a few weeks ago when they met. So.
Well, Garrett Bradbury wasn't playing then either.
But wasn't that when their backup got hurt?
Mm-hmm.
And
just got. And Dexter Lawrence can wreak havoc. The Bears know that.
He's a good one.
He's a good nose tackle. I'm gonna place a bet on the Giants this week, money line. Even though you should never take my advice in DraftKings, but
I mean, I feel like everything we just talked about for about 10 minutes made it very clear this is a game you should stay away from. And you're like, I'm gonna pick the Giants.
I don't know. If you got 41-17 against Green Bay. They got
money in your DraftKings account.
Didn't you delete all your apps?
I did. I re-downloaded DraftKings.
Good for you, company man.
Okay, not good.
Real quickly before we got out of here, do want to mention that the Pro Football Focus's all-rookie team came out, and Braxton Jones made it at left tackle, Jack Sanborn at linebacker, and Jaquan Brisker at safety.
Young players they had the most snaps out of for young players. Ryan Poles mentioned on Tuesday, so those guys showed some good things.
I put that in my newsletter today, which should be in your inbox if you're one of our diehards, and if you're not, you could sign up and still read it on our website at allchgo.com. But it is for diehards only. But I thought that like a lot of times you will see GMs, coaches like come in with their opening statements with like very strategic, like you can bend stats to like prove anything if you really wanted to, right? But I thought the fact that Poles said 2 things independently that he didn't present as being related, but if you listen to, took them independently and thought about it, it was like the Bears were among the best teams in the league in not committing penalties, while also leading the league in rookie snaps by almost 1,000.
I know, that was crazy.
You think about those two things, like, they don't go hand in hand.
No.
You lead the league in rookie snaps by 1,000, you're probably going to have a lot of mistakes.
A lot of penalties,
Absolutely.
And the Bears had plenty of mistakes from just a football standpoint, but discipline was not an issue. Kevin Fishbane tweeted this morning, the Bears' only unsportsmanlike penalty the entire year was that stupid towel thing that happened in week 1.
Oh, my gosh. Really?
Think about that.
Sorry.
Oh, man.
Carmen's on a Zoom call right now.
She's turning into Carm.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah,
She's got to work. We got to end the show so she could work.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got to.
Well, I do have 3
the
super
Vikings
chats.
press conference?
No, this is Fox.
Oh, it's
I got 3 supers to get through.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. Anyway, I just completing that thought. The only unsportsmanlike conduct penalty was week 1 and
Towel game.
only unnecessary roughness penalty was a questionable late hit call on Kyler Gordon against Jared Goff in week 10. Bears had third fewest penalties. I also want to point out, though, that I want to give the Bears credit for not committing taunting penalties, but the league also stopped calling them.
Yeah,
True.
they did. Thank God.
God, they did.
Yeah.
Now, every once in a while, you still saw it, but I was watching the game the other day, and there was like one guy made a play, and he's just screaming at the opponent's sideline for like 10 seconds. And I'm like, remember last year when, what the hell was that guy's name?
Pittsburgh, gosh. Did the kick.
With the blonde hair and Cassius Marsh.
Why do you know that?
Wow, I just pulled that.
Why do you
Good pull.
That was crazy. The way my brain works is questionable. But, yeah, they lost the game on that call. And all he did was, like, look at the Steelers sideline after making the biggest play of the game. Unbelievable.
That was the
know
worst.
that out of nowhere?
Although it's worth pointing out, Tony Correnti, the official in that game, no longer officiating. He retired. $9.99 from the Duke here.
Duke.
Don't get excited about the Lions. Eventually, their repeated high first-round picks play well for a season or two, and then they slide back down to the basement where they belong. Rinse and repeat.
So pessimistic.
Wow, that's
Him and
Aiden
Don Burr have
Hutchinson.
been going after it.
I bet.
Back and forth.
Aiden Hutchinson is as advertised.
yeah.
and
I got news for you.
amazing.
Aiden Hutchinson is going to be a problem for Justice
For a
Fields for a
long
long time.
time.
That dude is
Gotta worry
legit.
about
And
him.
James Houston, they hit on James Houston in the 5th round, or 6th round,
Fantastic.
out of Jackson State. Like, he comes up week 12 from
Braxton
the
Jones
practice squad.
knows all about Houston.
8
Let me tell
sacks. 8 sacks since coming up from week 12, coming up from the practice squad. Wild.
Wait, defensive ends are allowed to have 8 sacks?
Well, true. Yeah.
Oh, they were allowed to touch the quarterback 8 times in the season.
I mean, Aiden Hutchinson had 9.5 plus 3 interceptions and 2 fumble recoveries.
He's good.
First
Good
time
football player.
a player has had a season like that since Richard Dent in 1990.
I mean, he's really, really good. He just is.
He is, and his dad played. He's had every I feel like those are the intangibles too that make it so you're gonna have a really long career. So sorry.
He's future defensive player of the year.
Quality,
Good.
yeah.
Maybe by next year.
Yeah,
If not 2 years.
he could be like. I hate doing this, but he could be the next JJ Watt.
Could be. Without a doubt. All right. Isaac here, $5. So does the president of the Bears have say in media involvement with the Bears? Give reporters more media availability or involvement and oversee
The Bears have been.
with how the Bears have been. Yeah. I mean, the answer to that is yes. He'll oversee.
Well, not for the players. That comes from the GM and the coaches.
Right. I
But
think.
You can't give reporters more. No, the team president does not give reporters more media availability when it comes to football.
Correct, but not in terms of I guess minutes of access, but in ways in which they give access to reporters.
I mean, the way that I've seen it, it always football dictates what PR will the access PR will give you.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yes.
so
I guess where I'm getting at is a new team president could theoretically overhaul a public relations department or communications department. I'm not saying it would happen, and in fact, I doubt it would.
It depends on if PR is listed under the business operations of the team or if they're some PR departments are under football.
Yeah,
And I don't know off the top of my head which one the Bears are.
Well, Scott Hagel's title is vice president of corporate communications, and he's definitely like kind of
that
moved over to
the
business
team
side.
president would be able to.
Yeah, and so I think the
influence.
Bears structure, he does report to Ted Phillips currently. So I think that, and again, we're just answering the question. Wouldn't really expect there to be any kind of major changes there, but to answer the question that's on the screen, there's some trickle down effect, Isaac, where yes, things could change. I think I don't want to say there could or could not be change. I mean, I think it's a massive thing that probably isn't getting enough attention. I mean, the idea of the Big Ten commissioner potentially being the guy to take over the Bears CEO and president job when they've had the same guy for, over 2 decades.
Yeah.
This is a big thing for the Bears, whether it's the stadium, whether it's just how they operate in general. There does seem to be a shift here where the Bears understand they got to get into this century of
For sure.
NFL business.
Yeah. No, they do.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's at the same time though, I would kind of pull it back a little bit because ownership is the same. So it depends on,
Good
I
and
think
fair point.
the only overhaul that happens in these organizations is when ownership groups change.
Correct. Yep. Correct. Yeah. Although Kevin Warren did restructure the entire Vikings
Yeah.
organization. Not entire, but it's something he was credited in that the Vikings themselves gave him credit for.
Yeah.
All right, Chris, $4.99. How would you feel if the Bears didn't trade the number 1 overall pick and picked Will Anderson?
I mean, he's obviously a very good football player, and he's going to be in top 5 pick, but I think the move here is...
I mean, the answer to that question is easy. It's like, I wouldn't feel as good as if they were able to trade it and still get Will Anderson.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're totally disappointed, but it's like, it's not the best case scenario.
Yeah, like I want Will Anderson for this team, but I just think that you'd be missing out on so much more capital you could use to plug so many of the holes that you have, because it's not like you are just a pass rusher away or whatever. Like if that was the case, then yeah, who cares? Get Will Anderson with whatever. But I also think that it's completely realistic for them to trade down and still get Will Anderson and have the best of both worlds.
Ooh, that sounds good.
I love
like that.
all of it.
Is that the last one?
Yeah, that's the last one. The poll question's still very close.
Love that.
It is 50. It's still 53-47. It's just 52-48, so it's hovering there right around 50%.
Interesting.
296 votes on that, and yet only 125 likes. Come on, people. Please just hit that little thumb button. You could hit the poll question. You could also hit the thumb button. We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. I'll give you an exact reason. We encouraged you guys yesterday to hit the like button, and coincidentally, massive numbers on the show yesterday.
Yep.
That's how it works. So
Look
if
at
you
that.
like the show, we appreciate everybody who jumps in with the super chats. But if you don't want to do that, you can still just hit that like button, and it really helps
Huge.
us out. So
Big
please
help.
do it.
Hit the like button for the neighbors that are out the window there.
Yeah, were people walking around behind us?
Yeah, they're right there. You can see them.
I can't see him from my angle.
Well, look on the screen. You could see them.
There they go.
Yeah.
People.
Yeah.
People.
Neighbors. A nice roof deck. It's nice.
I love that TikTok sound. It's like, you're like, what? People.
Hey guys, how you doing? Better than the naked guy that.
That's over that way.
I'm still
Yeah, he's over
disappointed.
there.
He doesn't sit
a
out
little
there
colder.
naked in the winter.
It is 46 degrees today, though. It
it's
might as
gonna be-
well
yeah,
be.
beautiful.
It's
Yes,
naked
yeah.
weather.
Yesterday was like 40. It's naked weather. Did you just say that?
Hashtag naked weather. All right.
This is why you should like the show.
You know what it is? It's Cubs weather, and they're going to be sitting on these chairs in like 8 minutes. So
Okay.
All right, we gotta
So
go.
gotta go.
We're out of here.
Adios.
We'll be
gotta
back
get on
tomorrow
this
though.
Zoom call.
Thursday show. We are still doing the Will and Nick extravaganza, but it's being pushed to Friday now that we're in the off season. So we do have a full show for you tomorrow as well, and we'll be right back here at noon. So come check it out. Diehards, allchgo.com. Newsletters up there. Plenty of content from the last few days. It's awesome. Go check it all out. We'll talk to you tomorrow at noon.